I think my senior brother Kwesi Kwarteng has made a lot of bewildering claims.
Bewildering?
Yes. And it's very, very surprising because you see what he says are not borne out by the facts. You see, Mr. Kwesi Kwarteng says that if the GNAT, had sat down as a team to think about what their secretary said, they wouldn't have come by that conclusion.
I didn't say that.
Well, that's what he said.
Please go ahead, make your point. He said he didn't make that. Please go ahead.
No, we all heard him. He said
I can correct myself.
Yes.
When
please go ahead.
I was quiet. When you talk, I was quiet. You see, the thing is that he said that if the secretary had consulted the whole NAT body, he wouldn't have made that claim. And he thinks that it's a one-man show.
I said this.
But he has forgotten that just a few months ago, his government came out to tell the whole country that per their consultations with the IMF, there are so many flagship policies that will be reviewed, including the free SHS.
That's true.
Is it not true?
The call has been put on hold.
So, Mr. Kwesi Kwarteng,
it's in this document.
So, Mr. Kwesi Kwarteng who is communicating for the government, is saying completely different thing from the position of the government. And for me, that's very unfortunate. There's no consistency. The PRO is saying something different. The government is also saying something different. You see, there's this claim that before free SHS, there was not an increase in SHS enrollment. That is an absolute lie. Because before the MPP came into power, enrollment into secondary schools have always been increasing. Indeed, under the NDC, it's increased at an average of 35, 40, 50%.
I think he's getting this fast from.
But he says the quantum.
It is only a function of population growth. It's only a function. But you see, for the purposes... Mr. Kwarteng, please let me talk. Okay. You see, the thing is that the MPP, has created a certain impression to the people of Ghana that they are putting in so much money into free SHS such that they are unable to, fund other projects in this country. And that's not true. Because if you look at the numbers, just last 2 years, the minister tells us that they have injected just about 5.7 billion Ghana cedis into free SHS so far. And so let's even assume that they have only added additional 3 billion to the amount. We are looking at about 8 billion Ghana cedis invested in free SHS. Okay. That pales into insignificance comparing the total amount of money this government has had from taxes, from grants, from oil revenue, from loans. If you spend 8 billion on free SHS, whilst we have accrued over 600 billion, you cannot come and tell the whole country that the difficulties we are facing with free SHS is because we are pumping so much money.
What kind of logic is this?
It's a fact.
That what?
They say that they are spending so much on free SHS and that because of that, they are unable to fund other educational activities. And I'm showing you that they have only invested only 8 billion in free SHS. Meanwhile, they have gotten over 600 billion in excess through taxes, through loans, through oil revenue, through grants. And so the reason why free SHS is facing difficulties is because there is no genuine political commitment.
Then why is it being implemented? Because it's been implemented because there's a commitment.
There is no commitment. They took advantage of the people of Ghana in 2015 and 2016. They wanted to cling onto power. They needed to say what the people will buy into. That's why since they've been in power, all their flagship policies, free SHS, one day so one factory, whatever they have done has gone aground. And every parent watching me today knows within them that the government has failed them. And so I certainly agree with NAT, the civil society organizations. Indeed, President Mahama was the one that mooted the idea that the free SHS has to be reviewed in terms of its scope, in terms of the beneficiaries of the policy in terms of the allocation of the resources. But let nobody in this country suggest to us that the government has spent so much on free SHS. That is why they are difficult. Today, even the free SHS that they have spoken so much about, it's witnessing such sloth. It is dogged with massive problems that completely undermines the relevance for which the policy was set up.
Okay.
When you look at basic education, there are so many problems. Capitation grant has not been paid for systems. They have difficulties with furniture. They have difficulties with even allocation of teachers to the schools. They have so many difficulties that completely rubbishes whatever they have done. And you see, I have listened to the CSO. Yesterday, I read a document from most of the CSOs. There's one they call ICDP. There is Star Ghana Foundation. There's World Vision. They issued a document I can even send to you, where they catalog all the problems facing education in this country. Meanwhile, the government tells us that they have invested so much. And so how can you invest so much and the policy you are purporting to invest in witnesses this problem? The only conclusion one can make is that there is no political commitment. They are not interested in doing anything. They are only being pedestrian. There's shallow populism all over the place. Indeed, President Kufuor, when he was in opposition, he was asked the amount of monies that will be invested in free SHS. He was there bundling about figures. So there was no thinking through the policy. They were only doing political propaganda. And so we are certainly going to join any civil society organization, including President Mahama, who is the NDC's flag, but who has made a point that when he's being voted for in 2025, so much thinking, so much research, and so much planning will go through the review of the free SHS policy. Indeed, the government has already said with their commitment to IMF that they are going to review the policy. Just that
Roland.
It will fly. You see, it is against their own commitments that reviewing of free SHS means cancelling. And so it's a political blunder if they come out openly to say that they review.
Right.
That's
okay, so we still have from Africa Education Watch, Mr. Kwet there. But let's come to the practicals. Because I know that, because I allowed you to just suppose your argument or try to situate your argument with the figures that you have from the ministry, of which I'm also privy. So, but at the end of the day, practically, you are a teacher, right? You've been a teacher before, or you've not been a teacher before? You've not.
Roland, proceed.
Okay. So practically, when you go to some of the top schools, the parents augment resources provision from their own pockets. Has that come to your attention? More so, the functionality of the PTA is not like it used to be before. So the headmasters are afraid even to make commitments to ensure that the allocations or the needs, the resource needs of their schools sometimes are shifted to maybe the chairs of the PTAs, etc., to ensure that the parents themselves made the commitment. For example, if it's some of the top schools, if they are mowers, the parents will have to bear them. Hitherto, they will have to be billed. And then if there are needs for augmenting provision for food, they have to do it themselves. And parents are taking money out of their own pocket to do that. Are you aware some of these things have been done?
Roland, I'm going to answer you, but before that, you gave me the opportunity to put down some of my points so that I can quickly respond to them. So I'm sure from responding, we could then proceed to yours.
No, you answer mine and then you do that.
Oh, we can do the reverse. I mean, to be fair, if you are able to give me some of the schools that parents have contributed, we'll quickly.
Are you saying you are not aware?
I mean, you are making a claim, and I'll be glad with some list of schools. You see, Roland,
I should give you list of schools.
What essentially happened?
Are you saying you are not aware these things have enumerated that truth?
That at the end of the day, the Free SHS Secretariat, neither the Ministry of Education or GES, is against any voluntary contribution from parents. We are not against that. I mean, let me state that explicitly clear. That at no point is the Secretariat or Ministry of Education or Ghana Education Service against any voluntary contribution by any whatever association or parents or whoever that voluntarily contributes and say that we are going to get A or B or C. I mean, I think it's Wesley Girls. We have the Old Students Association also contributing to build, refurbish a lab for them, even though the Ministry of Education also gave them one. So nobody is against that. But if you look at how the context within which you have put it, as though logistics or resources were not there, and based on that, such mobilization had to go. At no point did such happen. You see, there were claims again by, for instance, EduWatch, that St. Peter's, for instance, were engaged in that, where monies were being taken from students to with the whole idea about going to get them food. But as I speak with you, at no point have we reneged on our responsibilities of taking food to the various schools. So yes, I mean, you may ask that question, but the fact is that we do not have such a complaint where, I mean, we have formally the secretariat or schools bailing students to provide food or whatever logistics. But I mean, the balance is that the secretariat or the Free SHS secretariat or the Ministry of Education, we are not against any voluntary contribution from whatsoever. But at every point, government's commitment in terms of provision of foods, in terms of providing whatever resources, being it textbooks, being it, how do you call it, examination fees, paying monies to buffer stock to be able to make sure that they provide resources, the needed resources for the schools. At every point, government has been going on with such commitment. But Roland, now to come to, I mean, the points that were raised by my brothers. You see, at every point, you see EduWatch talking about allocation of monies to schools. And at every point, their argument...
Based on empirical data.
Yes, and I'm not deviating from that data, but I just want to remind them that, you see, to have a very holistic and fair conversation, it is rather more good to rely on percentage of expenditure than percentage of allocation when you are making any, I mean, analysis. Why am I saying that? The point is that I can allocate 1,000 Ghana cedis to you, but in the budget, but end up spending, let's say, 1 cedi. I can also allocate 5 cedis to you and end up spending the whole 5 cedis. So I have always reminded them, but I don't know why they are not, I mean, taking that free consultation. At every point, if you want to look at government's commitment to the free SHS program and even to basic schools, because I think at any point, as soon as they bring issues of free SHS, you react, you give the facts, then they quickly switch to basic school. But at every point, if you want to measure government's commitment in education whatsoever, whether the level of basic, whether the level of SHS, or even at the university, you have to measure that commitment with the percentage expenditure, not that of allocation. Because allocation, you can actually allocate more whilst end up spending less. Again, I mean, just a quick one on what my brother said. But I understand him. I mean, he's a medical doctor. He doesn't have educational background.
He didn't go to senior high school.
Come again?
He didn't go to senior high school. Is that what you're saying?
Per your logic, we should have brought SHS students to come and speak. He's speaking in the capacity.
That's not my logic.
No,
you said that
logic,
he doesn't have the background. Or you are saying are you saying that he's not an educationist?
So if you had allowed me to land, probably you would have.
Please land, because the way you took off, it's a wrong takeoff. Please land.
No, I think that is prejudicial to the point that I was going to make, and I feel it's not right. You should have just allowed me to land. Probably after that, you could give your comments. And just a reminder, you are just the host, not to mark what we say. So at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that he is just a communicator who is representing the NDC. I felt they would have brought somebody who has more knowledge in education. Because see, you made a wild claim that in NDC's time, enrollment was going up. Just let me remind you of the figures. In 2015, in NDC's time, enrollment was 269,000. 649. In 2022, it's 465,000. I want you to give me an instance. I am coming from the Ministry of Education. You came here with no data, with no facts, and you sit here and quote enrollment at your time was increasing let me land. It was increasing 30%, 40%, 50%. You mentioned 3 different percentages. Which is which? Again, let me land. I mean, I'm on the floor. I've also been able to demonstrate to you that when it comes to, for instance, even moving beyond enrollment and looking at, let's say, quality, I'm just going to give you the aggregate passes in WASI in core subjects. In 2015, in your administration, it was 45.2. In 2022 was 60.39. 2015 integrated science 28.7. In 2022 was 62.45. 2015 mathematics was 32.4. In 2022 is 61.39. Social studies in your administration, that is the best that you had. In 2015 was 57.4. In 2022 is 71.5. Now let me also even give some random schools in terms of how they were performing in your time and our time. And at the end of the day, you then conclude whether or not you were doing better. Roland, let's look at this. I'm not going to mention school like, let's say, Presec Legon, but Presby SHS in 2015.
Where? There are many Presbys.
Is it this place?
Manfi. Oh, where?
No, around this Ekropon region. This Ekropon, yes, there's one Presby SHS in Ekropon. In 2015, in terms of the improved pass rate in 6 subjects, in your time, it was 0.95. In 2022, we are having 57.88%. And I'm not going to land there. I'm also going to give you a school. So the Presby, I have the facts here, is actually at Mampong, so within the Ekropon enclave. So let me give you another school, Odogono SHS. Odogono SHS, during your time, the pass rate, you were recording 10.34%. How come within this time we are recording 46.05%? And these are data which you can verify from WAEC. Let's even say that the Ministry of Education, because I'm a politically exposed person, I'm not giving you the facts. You can verify from WAEC. Let me give you a school like Ahantaman. You were scoring 0.2% out of the 100. Let's say if you take 100 students, just 2 of them. It's even less than 2 because this one is 0.2. Were passing the WASI exams. Today, we are having 43.12. So on what basis would you, make such claims? Look at the enrollment as I speak with you. Now enrollment is over 1.3 million. Today, because of free SHS, we've employed more than 85,000 teachers. At the SHS level, and Roland, this is a news that I have to break on your platform. If you look at, for instance, teacher to student ratio, student to teacher ratio, for instance, as I speak to you, is one of the best in Africa, contrary to what Angkor reported and the likes of Dr. Apak reported. It's 15:1. At the TVET level, we have 152,000 students, 537, and if you look at the teachers with 11,731, also making the student to teacher ratio 13.1, which has to be the best. So largely, if you compare access, if you compare quality, if you compare the fact that we've repositioned our education so that it meets the 21st century demands, clearly, you come to one conclusion that yes, we may have challenges within the education system. And I've always insisted that all those challenges that we had predated even SHS because it's been systemic. Okay. But overall, we should pat our back and say that as a country, we've made some wild improvements and good strides.
So this one is coming from Child Rights International. And the executive director is sending me. It says, over the years, we've seen increase in enrollment at all levels. What has been done to reduce the percentage of children who do not get access to secondary education? Even with that, it was as a result of the double track system. Let's remain objective in discussing issues of education. And he also says early childhood education in private school and government schools do not even attract professional teachers. Preparing students at the foundational level is critical to ensuring that you get quality at the free SHS level. Now, Mr. Kpe, from Africa Education Watch, practically, even though the funding allocations have been made, and then also the projections per what the figures are, looks good. What really are the inherent practical issues that you've noted? Of course, we have also gone around, you look at the quality of food that is served, very bad. Sometimes you have students not having enough either sleeping accommodation or classroom accommodation, etc. And these are pertinent issues that, as a parent, everybody faces. And we get some of these interactions all the time, day in, day out. Mr. Kpe, what are the practical challenges that have been noticed from your side as civil society?
All right, before I move on to that, let me make the point that indeed, if you look at the expenditure, this time not just allocation, if you take the expenditure as Mr. Kwatin wants us to go by that tangent, if you take the expenditure also, we still come back to the same point that you are going to see decreasing rate when it comes to percentage allocation to basic, while you see increasing rate for that of the senior high school. So whether allocation or expenditure, there's no difference in it. It amounts to the same issue. But of course, the issues we all are aware of what is happening at the senior high school level. That you have to report in to us every day when it comes to food issues, when it comes to issue of furniture. But I must admit, on the part of furniture, government is doing. I don't want to use quite well. It's doing well to expand access. Over the last 6 to 7 years, government has been on issue of infrastructure, and that is why we see much of the GET fund allocation to senior high school, to the point that we even have to see GET fund being securitized to be able to get loan to be able to address the infrastructure challenge at that level. So government gave us 5 to 7 years to be able to address the infrastructure deficits at that level, so that we can get back to the usual calendar of single track. I'm very positive that about 1 to 2 years that government has to deliver that promise. I'm very positive that we'll be able to get there because of the infrastructure expansion that have been ongoing. So yes, we still have pocket of issues when it comes to infrastructure, but I must admit that work continues to be done on that. And as I mentioned, we also are aware that government has been in debt to food suppliers and also in debt to the uniform supplier. So there remains quite a pocket of issues that needs to be addressed, and not that have spelled them out in their presser. For me, I don't want us to go to the specific. What the major stakeholders are asking for is a review. I don't see why government is so reluctant on engaging them. The people that are implementing
Mr. Akpe, from you as Africa Education Watch, if there are key areas of implementation that would need review, what would be the 5-pointer areas?
All right. The first would be to engage parents on their needs to supplement the funding of the free senior high school. We need to get to a point of bringing parents on board. And then we also have to address the equity issue when it comes to those that the program should necessarily target. Because for me, I don't think we are at a point of this whole still is addressing the deficit that the issue of inequity that we are seeing. So we need to address the inequity that is existing in the system. This wholesale approach is not helping. We need to make it more targeted. And of course, you listen to the IMF, they are making the same point that look, the program is not well targeted. And they use the word well not targeted, but of course it's not targeted at all. So it's not an issue of not even well targeted. So we need to also come back to the point of how we address the issue of equity to be able to target it to those that actually need it. And again, once you talk about equity and then targeting the program, the argument people make is how do we identify those that actually need it? We are not the first country implementing free senior high school. There have been countries that have faced it. South Africa is there, Kenya is there. We can go to South Africa and look at what they are doing. They are not doing a wholesale approach. They have ways of even addressing the issue of those who actually in the program and should be able to target it. And even government, if you look at the free SHS policy, you read through the policy and get to the point of equity that government is talking about. Government is able to tell us that when we take every 100 pupils that enroll at KG, you will not be able to see 20% of those that are from the poorest quintile entering SHS. That means even government has a fair idea of those that actually are not progressing to SHS because of poverty. So even the policy document gives
these are the people who draw, the pupils that tend to drop, by the way, right? Across the educational ladder.
Of course, but then also transition from the GHS straight to
Mr. Akpe, so far, if Africa Education would have to rate the implementation so far of free senior high school as a policy from 0 to 10, what will it be?
No, I'll refrain from doing that.
Thank you for refraining. Thank you very much, Mr. Akpe, for giving us this update. As far as this is concerned, it also means that we have to get to the nitty-gritties as far as this is related. So I have this from a teacher, and I know you don't like the practical question, so this is a practical question. So he says, keep me anonymous. And this is a friend of mine, my classmate, who is a teacher at senior high school. I won't mention the school, says, keep me anonymous. And this is a friend of mine, my classmate, who is a teacher at senior high school. I won't mention the school. Says, keep me anonymous. And this is a friend of mine, my classmate, who is a teacher at senior high school. I won't mention the school. Says, For example, in my school, teacher to student ratio is 1 to. I'm really suffering. Okay, for example, in my school, I'm really suffering as my department. We are only 5 teachers handling over 1,000 students for both core mathematics and elective mathematics. This may not be the situation across all schools, but the picture should not be painted that this definitely will not affect quality. And then I have this one also that says that while politics is important, we have to be practical. If you go to the schools, the quality of food that is served is poor. And these have been brought to limelight even by the media. And I know TV3, we've covered a couple of them. How do you answer some of these things?
I don't like practical questions, but
yes.
Anyway.
You've seen some of the state of the quality of the food that is served in some of the schools.
Roland, per your own standard. So let me answer the question in the order that you asked. First of all, with regards to the teachers to student ratio that the gentleman raised, it's quite difficult for me to really understand if that is really the situation. But quickly,
you mean he's lying?
No, that's what I'm saying. So I have always insisted that if you had allowed me to land. So what I'm saying is that quickly, even off air, if we're able to give me the name of the school, because the person is anonymous, I mean, you are guaranteed that your perceived perceptions of victimization will not even come to play. But the point is that quickly we'll go to that school. If they indeed need teachers, we'll supply them teachers. Except to say that, as I speak with you, just last month, the teachers that were validated within the SHS space were 85,934. If you divide by the 1331219 students, every teacher should be assigned to 15 students. So the teacher to student ratio is 15:1. Of course, I mean, there are instances where you also go into some of the schools, programs like agriculture. You may have about 4 teachers where probably teaching just 4 students and they are running a shift. So it is possible. I mean, this, if it is true, it just, I mean, borders on how teachers are just placed within the various schools, and we'll quickly address that. So I'll take the name of the school off air. And of course, I think the other issue had to do with the quality of food. Roland, you see, to be very realistic to all of us, I wouldn't run away from that debate that at every point we need the best of food for our children. But you see, the point is that if we are cooking for over 1.3 million students, morning, afternoon, evening.
Who are the beneficiaries?
Yes, who are the beneficiaries? It is possible that within one of the days, you may get some students, let's say 5-10 students or 1-2 school, raising those isolated incidents on quality.
I've had friends who work with the audit service. They go to audit schools, sometimes Western North, Western region, and they tell me, sometimes they call me, they say, sometimes the schools don't have supplies for about a month. So students sometimes will have to depend on a certain grain. The same grain will be cooked. If it's rice pudding, you have rice. These are instances that tend to happen. And these reports are brought to us. Are you saying that these are isolated or they are just not real?
Roland, you just repeated your question. I mean, just that is in different forms. So I'm also going to proceed with the answer that I was giving.
Quality.
So you are still on quality, or have you changed to quantity? It's still the same.
Okay.
So you see, buffer stock supplies food to students. I mean, they have the responsibility, officially charged to do the food distribution. Within what they do, they are supposed to supply about 15 food items. Within those 15 food items, I mean, there is a possibility that you may have a school having, let's say, 13 food items, which 2, I mean, that the school at the end of the day have not really taken delivery of. Those instances could be there due to transportation challenges, due to storage challenges, due to logistical challenges. But quickly, when we get the news of such, or we hear such formal complaint, we just direct buffer stock and whatever institution that need that food item is sent. You see, we are not running a system which, I mean, we have the human interface. Let's admit we have the human interface. So you may have some 1 or 2 lapses, but our duty as the ministry is that when those challenges come, we quickly go in, intervene and resolve it. So the assurance I'm giving you is that if you have any school where there is such challenge, just let me know, whether on air or off air. we will quickly direct and get that
All right.
whatever situation resolved.
All right.